Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 2, Episode 2, The Morgue. Once again, going into the second season, I've had a pretty good time with it. This was a fun episode. They probably the grossest thing they've ever done was in this episode, and it's funny how we are as humans, because I swear I could watch all of the old movies, I could watch the remake, the whole first season, last episode, all that stuff, and it's like, whatever, no big deal, this is that and this, whatever. But when a dead body is like pooping out its organs and Ash's head goes up its ass, I was like, wow, that was messed up. That was a hard scene for me to watch. And I thought it would stop, and maybe this would have been even more gross, because it was super, super bad, because the body's being pulled and there's just poop coming down the tip, which is so disgusting. And I think maybe it would have been worse if it actually stopped with him at the table and it just pooped on him. I think that would have been worse than what actually happened, because I was like, this is super gross. But it was mostly because of the visuals. And when he went up, then I was like, that's nasty. But it kept going to the point where it got super ridiculous, and I was like, okay. It actually ended at like a medium level for me, where I was like, I can accept that, because it went full Evil Dead crazy with it, where he was literally like, in the stomach, in the stomach, and actually exposed because the stomach was split open. But man, going through that scene when he's being dragged towards the body and he's fighting it, so the body ends up being dragged towards him, and the guts, it was just crazy. Just watching that scene, I was like, wow, I've never been so disgusted. I could see all the crazy fake blood ever, and maybe because it was so. It was actually realistic. I think it was oddly realistic, and maybe that was a part of it, because it wasn't like, oh, someone was stabbed and the blood shooting out, or in the premiere with the guy that got killed with his arms getting chopped off, and Kelly's just like doused in blood and all that craziness, and when she hits the deadite with the axe, who's trying to kill Pablo, like they're both just like doused in blood. It's like, that's just buckets of blood. It gets to crazy levels, whatever. But that was just a slow moment, and it was just like, that is so nasty. It was actually crazy. I was like, wow, I finally hit a point with Ash and the whole Evil Dead universe. I was like, this actually got me, and it kind of messed me up for a second. And then, like I said, fortunately, it went so ridiculous. He actually went through the butthole and he was in the stomach. So I was like, all right. It got to the good ridiculous point where I'm like, I can somewhat forget that last little segment, but that was nuts for me. I just had to talk about that before getting into the rest of the episode. But I really did enjoy this one. I think even outside of that, they went with some of the craziest stuff they've ever done, with Ash doing some of the stupidest things ever, like cutting open every single body. Because as soon as he went in there, the first thing I thought was, why wouldn't he look for the already open body first? Because there's already bodies in there. I'm like, you just look over, like, okay, in the stomach, nothing there. And he finally gets to the end, and he's like, oh, right, look first, cut later. And I'm like, he cut everyone open. And not only that, and this is when I really hit, like, man, they made him super dumb in this episode. He wasn't even using the robot hand to pull stuff out. I'm like, he couldn't just cut people open and then switch hands. I know that takes more time, but he's already, chainsawing everybody open, and he's already got blood all over him. He might as well take a little time. But he cuts them open, and then he digs into all these people with his normal hand, and I'm like, oh, that's just so nasty. It was crazy. But it made me laugh. It was just crazy. Just that whole segment was absolutely nuts. And then the intestines coming at him and biting his nose, and then trying to bite his penis, and then choking him and stuff, and all the insanity in that. And Kelly has a pretty normal scene. She just wants some, Faygo moon mist, which is, I don't know how far Faygo is, but Faygo is made in Detroit, so I'm pretty sure like 98% of the people watching this show, you guys might not know that. Faygo is made in Detroit, so it's a Detroit pop. Or soda, same thing. Pop and soda, totally different. Same thing, but, people say pop, some people say soda, so I always try to say both. But it's called, Faygo, and it's made in Detroit, so that was really cool. I haven't seen a Faygo machine with that, image. That was like the old Faygo logo and everything. Somehow they found the vending machine from like 1990 something, or probably a little bit, or like early 90s Faygo, And I'm like, man, they found the oldest machine they could have possibly had to display like Fago Pop, which I thought was funny. But that's what that is. So I'm sure a lot of you may have seen Fago and be like, what the F is that? That's how you pronounce it as well, because some of you guys may not have known how to do that. But it's made in Detroit. I don't really know how far it's sold. I know it's here, and I'm pretty sure they sell it a little bit in Ohio. I'm not sure how far south in Ohio, but at least around Cedar Point, in Ohio, there's Fago Pop. So, random history lesson from Detroit. We have our own pop. But she had a pretty simple scene. She fought the cop dude whose name I really don't care to remember. I think he might die. It's kind of hard to tell because he's not an a-hole, and that's the thing. It's like I hate the guy, but he was the nerdy kid who got picked on by Ash and the other kids. So it's like I shouldn't hate this guy, but at this point in time, he's just a dick cop. So it's like I kind of feel bad for hating him a little bit because, in the premiere they say how he was picked on all the time and he grew up to be the cop. And it's like, all right, I shouldn't hate this guy, but I kind of do because he doesn't like Ash. Super messed up opinion just to totally hate a guy because he hates the main character. But, he gets beat up, and then once again, Ash makes a point of talking about their history together. It's like, oh, when we used to bully him and shove him in the locker, he'd pee himself. So he would never tell anybody because he peed on himself. So let's just pour a little bit of pop here, and he won't tell anybody, which shouldn't really work. I mean, it probably will, but that shouldn't work. He's a cop at this point. He should be able to man up about it, and even say, hey, this isn't pee. You don't say smell it, it's pop, because that wouldn't work and that would make things worse. But it'll probably work. He probably won't tell anybody. Like, crap, they're gonna think I peed on myself or something like that. But Kelly kind of kicked his butt. Like, they fought for like 2.5 seconds. She kneed him, and then she knocked him out with the headbutt, which I thought she'd have to like knee him a little bit more to like really beat him up. And she took him down. I was like, wow, she really messed him up. So that was interesting to watch her have like a little fight scene, and she like destroyed this cop. I was like, wow, she really messed him up. He should have been able to take her like a little bit longer as a cop. Apparently he's like the only cop in town based on what they show, but should have been there a little bit longer. But she destroyed him. They head back to the house, and I don't know what's happening with Pablo, but I mentioned this for the premiere. I'm excited to see where they take him. We get a little bit more info as to what's happening with him, and Ruby mentions, no human has ever bonded with the Necronomicon, so that has me really excited. And there's also something that they mention that I felt had a pretty big connection to the last episode, because I mentioned that the monsters, the dark ones, called Ash Hefe, which of course is a thing that Pablo only says, and I thought that was really weird. Like, why would they say Hefe to Ash when only Pablo says that? And I think they make a connection to that in this episode where Ruby says, like, your mouth, like, you aren't the father, I'm just the mother. Your body is merely like a conduit for their existence. And then, Kelly called him a vagina and stuff. But I was like, okay, that might explain it, where they technically come from him. Like, she creates them. He's basically like a surrogate, pretty much. And, they make that conduit. So maybe that's the connection, why they called him Hefe. Some part of him is technically still there. But at the same time, I think it has more to do with the fact that the Necronomicon has never connected with any human before. So part of him is attached to the Necronomicon, which I would have to assume, considering Ruby wrote it and she was the one who made those demons, or at least kind of spawned them. That's why the Dark One said Hefe to Ash in the last episode, is because of that weird demonic connection between Pablo and the Necronomicon. So I don't know what the deal is, and it kind of makes me think at the same time, in the last episode when Pablo used his necklace and he was invisible to the creature, they made it seem like it was the necklace, but now I'm starting to get real suspicious if it was actually the Necronomicon having that connection. Maybe that's why he became invisible. I kind of doubt it because of the way they made it seem, where the creature was actually walking up to him, so it probably was the necklace. But I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I'd still be surprised, but I wouldn't be 100% surprised if it ended up being that the Necronomicon knew that its possible host was in danger or something like that. So it made it it made Pablo invisible to the creature that it controls, or something like that. Which I think that would actually be really cool if that ended up happening. But just going off of the little bit of information, making up my own, giant theories as to what I think might happen with Pablo. But he gets really no answers in this episode. Ruby's kind of just says, hey, it never bonded with a human before. She kind of, basically just throws out everything, like, is this happening, is that happening? And she knocks him out to basically give him premonitions. And this was a weird one because it wasn't a premonition that really helped them too much, but at the same time, the last one was really weird and vague too, because the only reason that helped them was the building in the background, but it showed like this crazy, ghostly, all, black dress version of Ruby, and we don't actually see that, or any of the stuff that happens, or, the book, shooting its face on the Pablo in the premiere. None of that happens, so it's a really weird sort of premonition where I guess something in there is gonna have a connection. I would assume to the next episode, because it didn't seem to have a connection in this one, like the little fingernail, like slitting Pablo's throat or anything. Maybe he'll just get tied up or something simple like that. But he was in Ash's room. It was him and Ruby alone. He was tied up, and then she slit his throat. So there was nothing in there where I was like, that doesn't seem like much of a premonition. We don't see the Deadite, take the form of Ruby, which is the first thing I thought, would happen, is he would have, the Deadite would, like, take Ruby's form after it, like, maybe kicked her out the window and she passed out or whatever, and tried to, take him out before waiting, for Ash and Kelly to get back. But none of that ended up happening, so I was like, I don't really see how that was technically a premonition, because, we didn't see anything happen, but it could happen in the next episode. Like I said, tons of theories running through my head. I'm not exactly sure how it's all going to play out, but I am really excited with the way they're taking things for Pablo's character in this season. And it's, it's only the second episode, and I'm like really excited and curious with the little bits. They might be hints, they might not be. I'm kind of making, trying to put stuff together. But I love what they're doing with his character so far. We get more of Ash's dad, which is cool. He's just gross. That dude, he's like, I'm not here for talking, it's time for fornicating and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, I'm curious where they're going to go with his character. I don't know how much time they're going to spend in Elk Grove. And I don't know, I assume we're going to get some bonding moment, because they kind of make a point in this episode where Kelly's like, you said let's go rescue Pablo, but what about your dad? And he's like, basically whatever, he doesn't care. So I think we're going to get a pretty funny bonding moment between the two of them. And I'd love to hear that story when he talked about Pamela Pendergrass, and he's like, he finds out that his dad is trying to sleep, or is about to sleep with her, and he's like, oh, not again. I'd love to hear that story about how his dad took his girlfriend, or something like that. I don't know, but I thought that was very interesting. And also, this is not actually connected to that, but they had another cool moment in this episode, like in the first season, I think it was in the first episode actually, where they show clips from the old movies. I thought that was really cool. I like seeing that again, where they actually show it in real time and it's kind of just on the door. It may have also been CG'd there, but it looked like it was a projector just pointing at the door. So I like that little scene. It was very small, but I thought that was pretty cool. And I thought it was weird that Cheryl's name was on the door. I didn't know if that was supposed to be actually his girlfriend, because I really can't remember his actual girlfriend's name. But it's either they lived in the house together and maybe he left and his parents stayed, because he was old enough. I guess at that time that could have been their house. I don't know. I was a little confused during that scene, because I'm like, that says Cheryl. And at first, I thought that was his room, where it's like, okay, it has his girlfriend's name on the door. But then he says, he put like keep out, and obviously that was meant to be for everyone else. But he put his girlfriend's name on the door because that's his girlfriend. And then it was like, no, that just said Cheryl. And I don't believe he was related. It's been a long time since I saw the original movie, so I'm trying to think. But I don't believe that was his sister. And the other woman, I don't think was his sister in that old movie, or was like it had any sort of relation to him. I thought they were all just friends, but I could be wrong. I'm just not remembering it right. But I thought that was weird. I was like, I don't remember them having any sort of connection, and I assume it wasn't actually his girlfriend's thing. But when I was first seeing it, I was thinking that was his girlfriend, but I just don't remember. So that's more on me. It's not the show. But just wanted to bring that out because I was like, I'm a little confused by this because I was instantly thinking it was his girlfriend at first, and I was like, oh, I don't remember him having that personal connection with even the other girl that was in the movie either. So I don't really know. But I like getting to see his room. I thought that was cool. It's just old school style, and then of course it gets destroyed. And I love the joke they made about, um, and he was really adamant about it too. It was like, don't touch anything except to tidy up. And then he said the exact same thing to Pablo, and I like that because, and then they do it at the end as well. He's like, what did I say about don't touch anything except to tidy up? Like he has that pause every single time, and I kind of like that they kept that going. And I thought it was just so funny that it was oddly specific like that. Like even to Pablo, it's like, don't touch anything. But he was really serious about like, if you want to clean up though, you can do that. Just outside of that, don't touch anything. So I actually like that joke a lot. And honestly, I'm super excited for this next episode. I don't know how the heck this is gonna play out. But the car getting stolen at the end, and I was super curious. I was like, why are these two random kids? I was like, something must have happened. They either related to somebody or there was some contest I didn't know about. And I was like, why is this random scene in here? And then it comes right back at like 5 minutes later. It's like, oh, they were in there because he pissed those kids off and that one kid stole the car. So their plan is to throw a super giant party to convince the kid to, come back, or, kind of trick the kid into coming back. Like, oh, there's this crazy epic party happening. So I assume that that's going to work because it just seems silly enough that it would definitely work. But, of course, as always, I'm excited to see the next episode. I just don't know where we're going this season. And I don't know if they're actually going to solve the problem or not. But I'm very excited to see where they take this next episode. But, of course, I definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So, please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I actually want to know what you guys thought about the scene with Ash getting his head shoved up somebody's butt. Because, like I said, for me, that was nuts. I wasn't expecting it, and I guess I just have a thing where it's like fake poop gives me way more than fake blood. Maybe it's because I've seen fake blood a million times. You play video games as much as I do. Fake blood all over the place. You don't see fake poop a lot in games, or you do. I shouldn't say or ever, but you definitely do. But it's not. Fake blood is in like everything, even when it's over the top, and then just fake poop, dead person poop. It wasn't like, oh, that could be like a melted chocolate bar or something. That junk was gross. So I would love to know how you guys felt during that scene, because it kind of messed me up a little. But I'd also love to know what you guys thought about the episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.